So I don't really know that much about Redfin and this 1% and all this. So when you said 1% really equals 4%, I feel like I'd lose them there. Like, I don't know how to explain that.
Let me role play it.
Okay.
So it's not wrong to just bring up the websites. Let me share properly so you can see the right thing. Here you go. So I would go right on redfin.com and just run right at it. And so do you mind if I role play with you, Lisa?
Okay.
So Lisa, before we dive into what I can do for you to get your home sold, let's talk commission and how I get paid. And I'm going to just bring it up. There's all these companies out here like Redfin, and I'm just going to show you their website. Here it is. What does it say that it's going to charge you to list your home?
1%.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The first time I saw this, I had to look into it myself because I'm like, seriously, 1%? That is so much less than what most people pay. So I looked into it, and it's not really what it says. So if you read it, it says what?
1% listing fee when you buy and sell.
Yes. And there's more asterisks than that. So when you go into this, pay a 1% listing fee when you sell and buy. And then you got all these little exceptions here. Do you see this? And I would read this out loud to them.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, okay, interesting. Now, I'm going to make you guys students of your competitors and your emerging competitors because you need to know how to have these conversations. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, you should know Redfin. You should know Redfin Now, which is their instant offer option. You should know Zillow. You should know Zillow offers. You should know Keller. You should know Keller offers. You should know Opendoor and OfferPad, because those are your true competitors. And so we'll do more education with you guys against your new emerging models so that you, Lisa, feel comfortable having this. But if I was on a Zoom with you and you're my prospective seller, I'm just going to bring it up and read it out loud with them, because there's so many caveats to everything. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to make a pivot. Now I'm going to make this pivot because I know how to talk about Redfin. Now, the truth is, Lisa, would you rather be assigned an agent that's actually an employee of the company, or would you rather have me negotiating in your behalf? Do you want to have choice in who you work with?
Absolutely.
Okay, so at Redfin, those are employees that were once realtors. So there were agents that maybe didn't have success in real estate that are now employees of the company.
That's not sounding very good.
Well, and how do they manage to pay for the discount?
I don't know.
Let me show you. So if we go back to their website, if you read a little further, because there's lots of caveats, you need to actually use all of their services, not only buy and sell, but the mortgage, title, insurance, the whole process. And if you go into this as agents, you really need to understand this. It's on the buy and the list side that they package everything. Well, how they do this, just between all of us, is they're packaging mortgage and title and insurance and real estate. And the truth is, they make so much more money on the other items that they're happy to give away some of the real estate commission. Okay? Mm-hmm. So instead of working with a website and employees for your biggest purchase, and be told what companies you're going to be utilizing and not really have the negotiating power to pick your mortgage, your rates, your closing costs, they package it and bundle it so that they can afford to give away some of the real estate commission. Now, what I can do for you, because I like you, I want to work with you, I want to be your agent for life, is I can do that too. But instead of giving away my profit or the other agent's commission, which would really potentially affect your home and the sale of your home in a negative way, I can, because of my company, give you part of the mortgage closing costs and commissions. That's even more money than they would have given you, and you still get to select who you get to work with. So you got to look at Keller Mortgage and make that decision if it's for you, and yet that savings alone is more than what I could do on the commission side anyway. and you get me. I'm not an employee of some website company. I'm there from the start to the finish as your person, and I'm there to negotiate in your behalf to make sure you get the best bottom line possible for your home. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, what I might do is I might then go into what we just kind of talked about of all your other choices, just to kind of put a bow around commission. And then I would talk about their home and what they feel they should be getting for their home. And I would just close right there. But if you do that, if you guys take the time to have a conversation and show, don't hide from this, run at it, you'll realize you can actually compete and kick their butt. You give them such a better option. But again, if you don't address this, and you don't address this openly with your whole database now, you might lose people to these other websites, and that's what we're seeing with market share. So if I go back and screen share again, this might mean more to you. So this will take a second to load. Give it a sec here. For some reason, this website loads really slow.
Jess, can I chime in with a question?
Yeah, go for it.
So, you know, we're sitting in front of these prospective sellers and saying, here's what I do for you, right? For my X%, here's all that I bring to the table. So for them to really accurately compare apples to apples, they're probably saying, well, what is Redfin, for example, doing or not doing for that 1 or 1.5% commission? So I didn't see that any place on Redfin's page, what they do for, and what is that, just a sign in the yard? I mean, you know, what are they doing?
It's very basic, and it's basic photography, basic listing. It's like a limited fee. It's like a limited listing.
Okay.
Now, they could step up their game there and create a concierge listing that's 3% or 2% and really just beat your pants off. But you know what? They're out marketing you guys right now. The fact that Redfin is up over 50% since COVID is they're just out marketing you because you guys now know more, right? You know more about the bottom line and the truth, but they're out marketing you because they're beating you right now. So you need to run at this to your database, and you need to speak up about this during the listing experience, your listing conversation. Otherwise, you're going to lose. And isn't it a lot of smoke and mirrors? Sure is. So Zorro, I'm calling them, Zillow Offers, Open Door, OfferPad, Realtor, Redfin, I call them Zorro now. Zorro is gunning for the fact that you guys aren't communicating well enough to your database, and they're going to out communicate you. Fair? So you don't want to wait till the listing appointment to have this conversation. You want to talk about this concept of how you're paid and how there's lots of smoke and mirror marketing out there, and don't be taken advantage of. And I'd love to have a conversation with you about the truth behind the 1% listing with the asterisks and educate you about it so that you're empowered. And you may say, in fact, truth be told, I can give you a bigger discount, and I can't wait to share with you how. That would be the message I'd get out to my entire world right now. And yet then when you have a one-to-one conversation, you can just show some of these things. But I would challenge you that you probably all need to practice a little, right? Just a little practice. And how great would it be just to practice with each other, not on your first opportunity or first appointment? I don't want you to practice on your appointment. I want you to practice on me or someone else on this. And so if you guys are open to it, I'll take one of my next team meetings and make it one of these sessions where I role play again and then break you into little rooms and you guys can practice a little together, because I'd rather have you learn from each other and say, oh my God, I love how Myra said that. I love how Erica said that, or June, she nailed this part. And you guys can kind of get your mojo going, because until you've practiced this a handful of times, you're not going to feel confident addressing it like I am. And that's why I'm recording this in small bites, so you can go back to our Ubaldini YouTube channel later and practice a little and be like, okay, I got to learn how to screen share better and go to Redfin. I maybe need to read this a little more carefully so I understand it better, so I feel confident talking about it. But you got to run at this conversation, or you're going to continue to lose to Zorro. They're just out marketing. Yeah.
Sorry, Jessica, something you said really makes a lot of sense too about getting to your pipeline, because one disadvantage we have is we are not on TV and commercials, right? Redfin's on commercials, Zillow's on commercials, Trulia. I mean, that's what's in the mind of people right now because they see it on their TV. So you're right. I mean, how else would Keller Williams doesn't do that? So we have to nurture that pipeline and get our message out there as early as we can with them.
I'm going to show you, that's a great point you made, and I'm going to show you a visual that I'm working on building for you guys. Can you see kind of an Excel spreadsheet in front of you guys? Are you guys seeing my Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
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 Okay, so this is something I'm building as a visual aid to compare, and yet this is just something for you guys to understand. And as agents, put your agent hat on and you're shopping for brokerages right now and you're deciding where you want to go. First of all, these in the white on top are really the value propositions you would be looking for from your company, the company you choose, and what the company offers, compared to really what you should be worried about is the area in gray right now. So we're going to just take a second on this because I think this is worth talking about. When you chose your brokerage, especially if you're new, training and coaching and mentoring and support matters a lot to you. And then when you're an experienced agent and you kind of already maybe could be the trainer or the coach, that matters less to you. It's more advanced training would matter to you, more business training would matter to you, but money would matter more. You know, do you get a part of the profit or revenue share, or can you get to 100% commission? And in terms of running your business, is there a platform that you can work from so you don't have to go buy a website with IDX and a CRM to talk to your database and market to your database and a transaction management program to keep your head on straight during the deal? Well, most of you think this way in the white area of what can my broker do for me? And for, you know, whatever reason that's most important to you, you chose your brokerage. And the truth is, if you were at a different brokerage, let's just say you're at Berkshire Hathaway and you're new and you get all the training and support and you start doing well, the problem is their commission structure isn't in your advantage because they never cap. And so the more you sell, the more you pay in. And at some point, it doesn't make sense to continue to pay, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to move to one of these other companies where I can get a better split. So that's why you see agents bounce around so much, because as their business evolves and changes, their needs or what matters to them changes. And yet, what I want you to remember is right now you guys are in a race for Real Estate 2.0, the new consumer experience, the experience of the future. So although you care about these things, this is what the consumer cares about. And if we go through it, and I'll just share a few of these things with you, you'll notice who has checked off boxes. Keller Williams does, and the emerging models do. And why that is something to be concerned about is we're in a race for the consumer and who gets the consumer lead. And if you're not providing the experience of the future, you're going to be that taxi cab driver competing with the Uber driver. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you guys? And so if we just talk discounts right now, I'm talking discounts. That's all we're talking about today is commission discounts. Well, the consumer doesn't care where the money comes from. They just want the discount, don't they? And so what you're going to teach them is, instead of giving up your control and working with an employee, because in every one of those models, Redfin, all of Zoro are all employees. They're no longer agents. They were agents at a time. And if you look at them, they're not agents that were really killing it. They're agents that gave up on selling and decided to become an employee. So they're not probably the best of the best. Let's be totally transparent there, right? You know, you didn't get into real estate to go get a job, did you? You didn't, and if you go look at their advertisements, they're paying $15 to $17 an hour. So it's not like you're making $100,000 working for Redfin as an employee, and yet they're an employee. So, you know, you think about that, you guys need to put up your dukes right now. You need to go at the swinging, because they're literally just over marketing you. Now, to your point, Myra, we don't do ads because we want your people to pick you, not just Keller Williams. And most of you like the fact that we give 48% of our profit back to our agents, and we don't spend that money on an ad about why Keller Williams is so great. You need to be communicating this to your database, and yet some of you aren't, because you just didn't know to do it, or you don't feel comfortable talking about it as fluidly as I do. So I would say it's an opportunity for you guys just to get a little out of your comfort zone and learn this one thing I'm teaching you today and figure out how are you going to communicate that to your whole database. Now, I wouldn't necessarily put the whole 6% out and share all that. I'd say there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and you could even just use Redfin's website as an example to do a video and say, I would love to share with you how I can give you even bigger discounts, and yet you get a realtor, not an employee that you're assigned to be that person that's going to protect your equity and make sure you buy the right house. And if that's all your soundbite sounds like to get out to your whole database, how much better off are you, right? So that would be your homework, is first of all, to practice so that you could do what I just did to anyone. But the thing is, you need to communicate before the appointment, don't you? Truth. Truth. Any thoughts? I got crickets. Did I freak you guys out? Can you hear I'm passionate about this for you guys? You guys deserve it.
It's a lot of information to take in, Jess, and absolutely timely. And I hear your sense of urgency on it, because this is a really fast changing market. I mean, I've only been in the business a couple of years, and it looks very different than even just 4 years ago. And I totally hear your sense of urgency in this. And if we don't get a leg up on having these conversations and knowing how to position ourselves as professionals, we're going to lose out to these companies that are doing a crappy job for their clients, or not even clients, customers, number one. And those people won't even know what a bad job they did, and that they probably left money on the table.
Right.
So I think we have to really position ourselves as being pricing experts, and there's so many aspects of this, and I appreciate you planting all these good seeds of the dialogue. The dialogue to have can be very difficult, and to just really putting the words in our mouths is so helpful, because we have to be having these conversations or we're going to be unemployed.
And you need to have these conversations with everyone all the time, both the buy side and the sell side, because the buy side's being attacked as well. And the funny thing is, buyers don't even know how you magically paid. They think you're just really nice people that open houses and show them houses and things. They're not even quite sure how you're paid, right? How would they know? They're guessing. Yeah. So you got to address it. Charles, did you have something else you wanted to share?
The other thing I wanted to ask was your whiteboard. I mean, if obviously sometimes doing a consultation using Zoom or whatever we're using, the whiteboard that you are using is certainly a added tool for our toolbox.
Yeah, I'm not very good at using it yet, so you got to forgive me.
Well, you did very good to me.
I'm working on it. But it takes practice, right? And yet, if you're physically in front of someone, you could just take pen and paper and show it.
For sure.
I'd like to build a really cool net sheet that kind of broke down the smoke and mirrors. And so I was trying to figure out, what does that look like? So if anyone's nerdy like me and wants to help me with that, because I was thinking, literally, what would your true net be? And you could even bring back the opportunity for them to get the other discounts you could have with you. And it'd be really neat to show something like that. So I'm trying to wrap my head around how would I do that for you guys so you're really empowered. So that it's not you just remembering to write these things down, but it's almost a net sheet that you fill in and do an apples to apples comparison. Because it's lost opportunity as well with the bidding war, and lost opportunity with the Keller mortgage discount. Now, I'll show you something that you guys might be really surprised by. If you go to Keller Mortgage, let me just bring up my website. Give me 1 second here. Oop, wrong thing. Okay, so you guys should see my Keller Mortgage screen. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now you guys as individuals can log in, and it's just kellermortgage.com. And when you sign in, you're going to see how much you personally have saved your consumers. So this is Mark, my husband. He saved $14,930 so far this year in closing costs for his people. Isn't that awesome?
Now, is that the buyers using Keller Mortgage to buy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now if I get out of here and I just go kellermortgage.com for me, it's going to him. I got to try to get in as me.
I have a question.
Oh, it's not coming in as me because it keeps going to my cookies. But I'm going to tell you this, Clearwater, because I only have Clearwater numbers. Not sure what they are for your individual offices. I brought this up the other day, and I'm not sure how to get hit so it doesn't keep showing Mark. But our office, Clearwater alone, has saved just under $1 million.
Wow.
It was 944,000 something that we've saved our peeps already. Doesn't that blow your mind?
That's fantastic.
I think we should have a party when we hit $1 million, right? Why not? Any reason for a party during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could go on and tell you how you guys got to get comfortable with your scripts and role play and all that. And yet at the same time, you just need to feel more confident with this conversation. And just get comfortable with Redfin. Go after Redfin right now because that's who's going after you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to look at my some of my questions. HomeLight is the latest one I just heard about. Ads last night. Yes, so HomeLight is one of the many. They're helping connect with an agent that basically registers with them on Facebook. And then Lois, I like the idea of them deciding which way they want to go. Yeah, it's choose your own adventure. So every listing appointment starting today should include Keller offers, instant offer, as well as traditional. Soon it should be instant offer, traditional, plus concierge. You don't have concierge yet in our area, but we will. Not many people take us up on it, just like many people don't take us up on the actual Keller offers, but the curiosity factor's there. And yet you're gonna have your Zorro and other disruptors going big on concierge against you. So as soon as it is out, you're gonna need to start rolling that out. And then you can, now when I ran a brokerage in Wisconsin, what we did on the listing agreement is we had 3 different commission percentages and you had the consumer choose. And it was different levels of services. And we talked a little bit about this on Morning Mojo, and I used Tony as an example because Tony goes so far above and beyond most people on a listing with the quality and the extras that she puts in. Staging being one of them because she's a stager and she's awesome at it. And so, you know, she might offer 6, 7, or 8%. And explain the differences and let them choose their own. But I'll tell you what's interesting, the human condition. So we did this in Madison and almost everyone picked the middle commission. So our office got like a 1% bump across the board after we'd been doing this for like a year because people like to pick the middle. They don't want to take the cheap one and they don't want the expensive one. They want the middle. I thought that was interesting. And yet we had to differentiate what the service differences were. And so truth be told, you still need to start when you're explaining commission with the 3 and 3 example and how the 3% is broken down so they can really understand that first before you complicate things with your choices. And to what I said to Tony, I said, Tony, you should keep all the extra money because you're the one with expenses so that when they close and they see the CD and they see the other agent didn't get paid as much, they're not like, why did you take more? They're like, of course you took more because you did this for me and you did that for me. That was extra. And the agent on the other end will understand that as well. So just know that there's smart ways of doing this and packaging it, yet you really want to have choice. Now, Tom, you ask a great question. Are buyers required to use KW brokerage to use Keller Mortgage? Now, there has to be a KW agent involved in the deal for it to work. So it could be the listing or buy side. And so the big challenge you have if you're the listing agent is educating the agent on the other end. because they think you're like attacking their buyer with your stuff, and they're kind of territorial, as would be expected. So you want to approach this carefully, not like, and how I would do it if I was going to role play that, I would say, hey, Tom, this deal's getting tight. And instead of them asking for your commission or my commission, here's another option we have. We can offer Keller Mortgage as a second choice for them to shop. And based off their price point of $250,000, they're going to save about $5,000 total with the extra $1,000 in closing costs. And that could be the difference maker for you and I. So we're not coughing up $1,500 each to get this deal closed and giving away all of our profit. And that's a smart way of addressing it. So they're not like, whoa, what do you mean this Keller Mortgage stuff? I got my own lender. You know, you want to approach it as a problem-solving device. And you may even bring it up right away in the deal and say, hey, just so you know, because of I'm listing it, we have this other option if we need to take this out for any reason to get this deal to close. Or let's just say their income is dropped a bit because of COVID, or they don't have full-time hours like they did, or they got furloughed. So their debt to income ratio might be tight. That could be the difference maker right there. So you want to approach the agent on the other end as, I have a problem solver in my hip pocket if we need it. And I just wanted you to know about it. And I'm sure you're going to recommend some great lenders that you're hanging with. But if we need to bring this out, instead of you and I giving up what we have for commission, I'd like to give us this other option. Here's how it works. So that would be how I would kind of address it. So they weren't like, whoa, why are you trying to talk to my buyer about this? And you'd be able to provide that in the deal. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Jessica, you're so good about always having a conversation when you're coming from contribution. That is so key to being successful, I think, coming from contribution. You know, I think you're definitely heard better when you're coming from that angle.
Well, and you know what? You guys could take the time to make one video about this, and you just have it as a smart plan, a one-off smart plan, and you send it to the agent as, hey, looking forward to putting this deal together with you. I have a few little secret tools in my toolbox in case we get tight on this deal, and I just want you to know about it. So as we're moving forward, if we run into a problem with income to debt ratio, or their down payment isn't enough, or they want us to give up commission, I just want you to know about this so we can talk if we need to talk. And it's not me trying to get your buyer or anything. Just want to let you know that if we need to use this, we can. And it's a tool that my company gave me. Now, the other point is that's another way to build your downline, because it's pretty cool. And a lot of agents are like, that is so cool. Why doesn't my company have that? Why am I giving up my commission? So just know that you might just decide as you're working with an agent on the other side that you actually send them a smart plan on this. That's just like a little video overview. And at least they kind of know what the deal is, so that if it makes sense during the transaction to bust out that mortgage, you have that option. Just food for thought. And you could record it one time well and feel good about it, and not have to try to one-off and explain it every time. It's kind of like escalation clause. Half the agents you're working with that are going to receive an escalation clause from you don't even know what to do with it because they don't know what it is. So if you need help on that, Tony recorded a great video on that with escalation clauses. Yet you still need to call the agent on the other end and give them a heads up that you're giving them an offer, right, with one, and you have to explain what it is, because most of them don't even know what you're doing or what the intent is, and then you may not get represented properly. So again, with this, it's not meant to cause trouble. It's meant to solve issues. And yet another piece to the puzzle, isn't it? So your job now is to put the piece to the puzzle, but you need to educate your people. Starts with you first. You need to confidently know how you're competing, and you're competing a lot more than this 1% guy that keeps marketing to your neighborhood, aren't you? And the truth is, because this market's so fast, it's kind of understandable why they're asking for a discount when their home's only on the market for a few days. So you have to understand that that's also the reality of where you're at. So again, you know, after doing all of this, it's your choice still if you want to give some sort of discount. And yet, if I was ever to do that, I do it on the second transaction. If they were a buy sell, I'd wait for the second closing for that to happen. Just a little strategy there, because they might jolt you otherwise. And you give it on the first deal, and then the second deal they list with someone else and do something else. So you sometimes run into jerks like that, and that's life, right? Yet think about that as a more of a strategy. So is there anything I didn't tackle that you're hoping I would? Or is there anything you guys are running into or that you're fearful of running into that you'd like me to address when it comes to commission? Anybody?
So one thing, Jess, that I'll tack on, I kind of, after the Morning Mojo, which is always awesome, I went online and just started researching what different concierge services are out there that other agents are offering, because I do like your idea of having that full list. I mean, my customers know what I do, and I have my little Tony list, but I don't have a list of other possibilities and things that I should probably be looking into, because we're doing drone, we're doing 3D walkthrough tours, we're doing staging, we're doing all of those things that you've discussed, but what else is out there? Because if I'm charging more, I'm already doing these things. I feel like I should be giving more, because that's how I roll. And I think it's a good list if we could just compromise one and
Yeah,
put
but
it together.
I'm going to tell you the word concierge is kind of bastardized in our industry as a lot of different things.
Yeah, I would agree.
So if you actually search it, you're like, whoa, okay. And Coldwell Banker has a concierge program.
Yes.
However, it's for their agents. And what it is when you take a listing, they coordinate the photography for you. They put, their sign in the yard, which you guys know you want your own sign with your own phone number, and that's not very concierge. But that's how they package it. So if you search concierge, Coldwell Banker is going to say they have this concierge program. That's for when their agent takes a listing, they require them to use their services for a fee of like $7.95 transaction fee. So it's not free, that's for sure. It's not very concierge because you're not in control. And you guys understand that that's not necessarily in your benefit, yet that's what they're talking about when they say they offer concierge. Right. Concierge in its truth, what we're talking about is not really a value right now, because let's just be honest, ugly homes are selling like hotcakes right now, aren't they? Yeah. Fixer-uppers, it's like people all of a sudden put the blinders on and they're overpaying for these houses that maybe have dated kitchens. And in a different market, if you had a house with a dated kitchen or a dated bathroom, the house might not sell, right? Or it might help sell 3 other houses first, or it might require a price reduction. In the future, when the market settles down, that'll be a hot thing. Right now, it's not.
Well, what scares me as well is when you do see concierge, some agents across the board, different brokerages, will say, we'll schedule the inspection for you. You need a mover? We'll schedule that for you. It scares me when I see that.
Well, they're taking on all that risk and liability. And the truth is, how many times personally have you experienced a not awesome service with a contractor?
A lot.
A lot. Especially in Florida. It's like they're all gypsies. They don't show up half the time, or they never finish, right?
Take your money and run.
I'm from the Midwest. People showed up and finished as agreed. And like when I moved to Florida, I'm like, what's going on here? Like,
so true.
So true. It's sad. So can you imagine now you've taken on the risk and responsibility of the real estate transaction and the roofer and the guy that was supposed to fix the water heater and the guy that was supposed to put in new cabinetry? No, thank you, right? No, thank you. As Nikki would say, stay in your lane. You're not a roofer. Truth. So just know that word's really very vague. And yet what they're what true concierge is, and I almost wish they'd all changed the name to be something different than concierge, but that's what our competitors use. So we're using the same. And the concierge is set up in some communities already for Keller Williams, and it's not really being used because you guys know the market of the moment. I mean, seriously, once you get a decent house on the market, even if it has a few sins or a few needs, it's sold. It's sold right now because of lack of inventory. When inventory stacks and you have a 80-year-old granny that has a kitchen from 1972 and she doesn't have a lot of money, she's on a fixed income, and if she would just get different countertops and maybe paint a few rooms and maybe just one vanity and one bathroom, that house would sell fast, furious, and for a whole lot more. Wouldn't you feel great being able to offer this? Now, the truth is, what Gary's vision on this is that concierge won't have a big up margin in terms of cost, whereas a lot of our competitors that have that in place really gouge that seller for that service and really get them with interest and really get them with cost. The intention of us is not to do that as a differentiator. So that'll be really cool for you to be able to show soon, but know that it's not that big of a deal right now because that's not our market of the moment. Fair? Okay, well, I think I hit you enough with this, and yet we made it a couple bite-sized different sound bites. So by the end of today-ish or tomorrow, Andrew Hicks will get that up on the Ubaldini YouTube channel, so you can go back and listen to me and practice. And if you like what I did today and you want me to go deeper and maybe do like a breakout session where I practice with you guys a little and then break you out into little groups so you can kind of practice with each other, if you find that valuable, let me know and I'd be happy to do that, because it's one thing for me to role play it to you, but here's what I want to ask you this. And I don't mean this to sound cocky, so I'll premise that. But I haven't listed a house in 17 years. And would you want to compete with me right now? Fair? So it's been a while. And I practiced this morning for about 2 minutes before Mojo, and my morning mojo was a little of this conversation. I'm ready to go for this. Are you? And if you're not, it's just because you need to practice a little and you need a little more education. So just know, if you go to my YouTube channel, there's a lot on Redfin versus Zillow versus all that. I'm really big into explaining the different models. And if you could use some education on that, I'm happy to even do a class on the models. Just let your agent services know what you guys want to hear so we can help you and give you what you need. Any last questions, comments, ahas? I'd love to end with at least 1 or 2 ahas.
You just motivated me to really, because I have been making my list of concierge things to do, but still charging the same. And I love the idea. And I'm sure this has been repeated 10,000 times or in people's thoughts, but I love the idea of giving them the option and letting them see, like, okay, it's, 5, 6, or 7%. These are the breakdowns for you. What do you want to do? It's in your hands.
So I saw this branded in a cool way. And it was actually meant for the Market Center, because the Market Centers, as you know, are evolving with kind of more options for you guys as well, if you haven't kind of noticed. But it was KW My Way. And they got to choose their own adventure, choose their way. But you still need to start with the education of how the commission works first, so they see the value, right?
Right.
But I really like that, KW My Way. Like, I want you to tell me what the instant offer looks like, because I'm curious, and I think I want to go traditional with you, Tony, but I want to go at the 6, or I want to go at the 7, because I really think that drone video is going to be important, or I really think that 3D Matterport to understand my crazy floor plan is going to be important, because I know my internet curb appeal is that important, and I want a bidding war, right?
Well, that might be a good marketing tool for us to say, like a tagline, real estate your way. Your way.
Well, and that could be your listing presentation.
Yeah, I love that.
Love it. I love it. I want to see it when you get close to done, and I'll help you with it. Anyone else, we could do a class just on that. What does your listing presentation look like now, right? Okay, one more.
Let's have a socially distant powwow. Love it.
Yes. What else? Anyone else have anything that they're willing to share, or aha, or Lisa?
I do. I just feel like it never crossed my mind to have this conversation, first off. And I feel like by, practicing, getting good, doing it, it's just going to foster a trust. Whereas if they're interviewing a few agents and you're having this conversation with them and the other agent, your competition, is not, they're going to be like, oh, what, she's up front with me. She's not trying to hide anything or pull anything over on me. And it just differentiates you in a whole other way.
Yeah, you're a professional. You're the professional. And Lisa, just remember, because you're not doing that right now, that's why Redfin's beating us.
Mm-hmm.
Fair? Because they are. Second to that is, you're not a bunch of asterisks. So you can have some fun with that. I'm Lisa. This is, your choose your own adventure. There's no hidden fees, no secret, no trust issues going to be developed. I'm your girl. I don't have a bunch of asterisks, like all these contingencies to get this deal. This is me, straight up, nothing to hide.
Yeah.
And what is the number one quality that the consumer looks for in a realtor?
Knowledge.
Trust.
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 Tom, you're right. All the surveys over the years, number one, trust. And so if you just expose the truth a little, you'll at least put to bed anyone you know from your database sneaking around your back and maybe getting put in a position that they didn't realize they were.
So Jess, I have a question. Actually, two things. First, one comment from Morning Mojo. I love your line, online curb appeal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something I'm going to have to steal and use when I speak to sellers. I love that. Second thing, let's just say, for example, I'm giving them this a la carte menu and they choose their real estate their way. How do you overcome the comment, well, I went to Joe Schmo and Joe Schmo says that he's going to do all of this for 6%. Why am I paying 7%? Or like, what is your rebuttal for that?
Well, frankly, you do so much more than Joe Schmo. And so I think you'd need to give yourself more credit for everything that you do. And I think you guys missed the boat on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you really have a line item? So I used to, when I went to a listing, I had a list of everything I did and I line item the about expense, no fluff, it was real. And I had a column for time. So I put that out and I bottom lined the initial investment I made in their listing. And this was when the market was tight, meaning that not every listing sold and you had to barter more on their list price than anything. And what I'd say is, truth be told, I believe in you, I believe in me, and I believe in your home. And I think I know I can get it sold because I wouldn't put this investment out there if I didn't. Because if I did, I'd be crazy and I wouldn't be able to take care of my family and my bills and my home. And I believe in what I can do. And when you say something with passion like that, but you give yourself credit for everything you do, you're going to blow Joe Schmo out of the water. Even if he says he does, it's your passion and conviction with specifics. Don't just put professional photography. Bottom line, is it drone? Is it walking through the property on that fancy little walkthrough tour? And then don't be afraid to show what you've done and bring up another agent's website or another listing. Be like, which one is going to show better? Which one has better curb appeal? And the truth be told, with today's market, the market of the moment, many buyers are buying a home without ever going there. And they're relying on the photography, the this, the that, to help them make such a big decision without physically being able to be there. So can you imagine if your home didn't have that, what you're missing out on?
Right.
And so I would just say you crush it, but I don't think you really give yourself credit for everything. And you guys, I would give yourself credit for everything. The custom sign in the yard. It's not Coldwell Banker's generic sign that the office gives you with the office number. It's your custom sign. So what's the benefit of that? Well, the benefit is if I list with Tom and he has a custom sign with his phone number that he paid for in the yard and he had to pay some guy to put it up and take it down. And he showed me this line item, and Tony's over at a traditional brokerage where the office just puts a generic phone number and generic sign in that sends calls to the office. The truth is the seller wants Tom, my listing agent, to get all those calls because who better to sell his heart out about how great my house is than my listing agent, right? That's another value proposition you guys have. Do you bring that one up?
So really, it's not just expenses or what we do, it's our value proposition ultimately.
Everything you do. And if you actually took an Excel spreadsheet out and you imagined from the second, because you could even give yourself credit for before the listing appointment, you spent X amount of time researching the market for them and you did this and this, and you gave yourself truly credit for all the work that you do and you showed them that. They're not going to argue with you about your commission because you show your value. And yet most of you at the beginning of this call said you don't even bring it up. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely feel like we have some follow-up here. So any class that you want from this, I'm happy to do. I'm passionate about you guys getting what you deserve. And yet I'm afraid if you're giving away your profit. You're working hard. You deserve profit, guys. Don't give it all away in X, Y, and Z or negotiations. Because if you set the table right during the transaction, when they're $1,500 apart and they're looking at you and you're like, sorry, honey, that's my profit margin. I already paid for all the expenses of this listing. You know, it's not going to even be something that's up. Okay,
Awesome.
any last comments or questions? Otherwise, I'll let you guys roll and go practice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys, I hope you got something good out of today. And
Okay.
you can always join us on Morning Mojo at jessicafoxcoaching.com at 8:30. See ya.